Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Cruz.
This is Bryce Vine.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This
East.
is Sebastian Younger.
This is Daryl Amy.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
This is Dr. Bob Greenberg.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
And now, the Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
Administrative things are along the way, so
Far away.
Hey, this is Pete A. Turner, and we have got a great album fight for you today. We wanted to put two masters of songwriting in the ring, and so we've done that. And so we've got Sting, Nothing Like the Sun, his second album after The Police, versus an absolute juggernaut of an album, Carole King's Tapestry. And if you're thinking, who the hell is Carole King? Just wait. You know every single one of these songs. So this is going to be a whale of a fight. Let's get Richard to do his analysis.
I'm not so sure this pre-fight will be very long, guys. Never in the history of the patent-pending system have we had a blowout this big. I mean, even in the Bob Marley versus Ziggy Marley fight, there were some in favor of the son over the father. But here, after analyzing 12 parameters, Tapestry took all of them. I will repeat, all of them. While the song-by-song parameters did have heavy swings for each album, in the iTunes parameter, with potential knockdowns for both albums, everything else was heavily one-sided for 1971's Tapestry. If there was ever a fight where a towel should be thrown, according to the numbers at least, this is one. Tapestry is a 1%er album. Literally an album of the year. Honestly, one of the best of an entire decade. And Nothing Like the Sun is merely one of Sting's better solo albums. You can expect big rounds for Sting in 6, 10, and 11. And for Tapestry, expect big rounds in 1, 9, and 12. This fight should end before the halfway point. Carole King in a landslide. And if she doesn't, expect one hell of a nasty post-fight. Back to you guys.
Great. Yes, Richard's numbers are always interesting, and I wonder what's going to happen and what the other judges and I are going to come up with. Now let's get Phil to do his corner call.
This week's album fight is a 12-round matchup from two legendary solo artists.
In the red corner, we have a collection of multi-genre sounds from Sting, with his second solo album from 1987, Nothing Like the Sun. And his opponent in the blue corner, one of the most successful female songwriters of the 20th century, Carole King, with her Album of the Year Grammy-winning second studio album from 1971, Tapestry. Let's get ready to ramble.
Take it away, judges.
As always, I love it. Phil's corner calls are great. We are ready to ramble. And now let me introduce to you today's judges. Of course, multi-time show judge Scott Burford from Benicia, California, is judging with us today. Thank you so much, Scott.
Always fun, Pete.
Any initial thoughts before we jump into this thing?
Wow. Well, first of all, this is the first album fight I've done where I don't personally own either album in my collection, which is probably stupid, probably a mistake. But I've made a lot of stupid mistakes in my life.
Same.
I looked at it as a really fun exercise and a challenge because of that. So I'm super excited to be doing this album fight.
And then also former guest of the show, but first time judging, and I have a feeling we're going to do this again, is music legend Hank Bordowitz. Hey, Hank, what do you think about this process? You've actually, you know people that do this for a living. You've done this kind of thing. You've
done this for a living, yeah.
Right, exactly. What do you think about this process?
It's interesting. The 10-point system is makes it a challenge, and I don't know how equal it makes it. But I got to say, you couldn't have picked two more somnolent albums. I tried driving with these in the car and nearly fell asleep. So
Well, we found a cure for your insomnia, if nothing else.
I wish.
Yeah, and I can't. I'll say this right now, just so that everybody knows. We always put the disclaimer in there somewhere, so I may as well just do this now. These albums are in the ring because we love them. We will be critical of certain things, but look, I own a lot of Sting's material. I absolutely, you can't help but love and appreciate what Carole King does because it's ubiquitous. She's everywhere. So we love these acts, and when we are critical, it's only because we're comparing and contrasting and trying to figure out how to pick out which song we love more. So,
by the way,
yes,
just in the interest of fairness here,
yeah.
In the interest of honesty, open transparency, all that stuff, toxic masculinity.
Yes,
I worked for Carole King for a while.
Look
I did
at
on
you.
her website.
Right. So you're
and
angry.
I also know a bunch of the people on the Sting album. I know Mark Egan, Branford Marsalis. So I think that kind of balances them each other out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Well, and that's one of the things too. Is like, we have a respect for these albums, and we've had people from, I don't know about these two albums, but we've had people from the albums on the show before as guests too. So, yeah, this is done to encourage people to listen to Carole King again, to listen to Sting again, to spend money on these artists' great work. They're both still with us, so let's get out there and go enjoy these guys.
You had Andy Summer on the show, didn't you?
We did. We had Andy Summer, and he was awesome
on the Sting album.
I would put, he's on this album. I would put our Andy Summer interview against anybody else's interview with him. We really got him to a special place, so I'm super proud of that.
It's a great interview.
All right, here we go. Round 1, Lazarus Heart versus I Feel the Earth Move. Hank, why don't you kick us off and tell us what you think about this first round?
Well, any album fighter with Branford Marsalis in his corner, his cut man, has an advantage. I Feel the Earth Move is like one of the strongest tracks on Tapestry. It's just a wonderful song. So I went 9-10 rather. 10 to Tapestry, 9 to Lazarus Heart. 10 to I Feel the Earth Move, 9 to Lazarus Heart.
Good. All right. And then Scott, what about you?
Well, so Lazarus Heart, man, that was a really deep song. I mean, this was one of the songs on the album that I actually spent a lot of time looking into and researching because I was really, I couldn't figure out what the hell it was about. I don't know what a Lazarus Heart is. I'm not that well read. I'll prove through this album fight that I'm extremely unwell read, by the way. So it turns out it's about a dream that Sting had about his mother, and it turns out she died just before the album. And well, I mean, I guess if you have a really similar experience, then you can relate to this song because you feel a similarity with Sting's lyrics in your own situation. If that's the case, you probably love this song. But this song just sails over my head. Although I want to give Sting credit for his songwriting, I want to give him credit for the story he's trying to tell. Let me turn my attention to I Feel the Earth Move. And Hank, you're right. I mean, really strong song. Not surprising. It might be the leadoff song on this album. And it's just a really cool, simple, rootsy song. And, as I was thinking about this song, let me say this. I don't want this to sound like a sexist statement at all. That's not my intention. But this song could be sung by either a woman or a man. And I don't think you can say that about all songs. So there's something about it it's just, I think that's part of what makes it a great song. And in 1971, when you think about where the world was and the opportunities that women had, for this song to be sung this way by a woman, I think really it's part of what makes this such a landmark album. So anyway, where I'm going to is I love this song. It's a 10-9 winner in my book, and it's a great way to kick off the album.
Yeah, great point about the placement of women in music back then, and to be a solo act, writing your own songs, and you're not in a trio of girls, like you're really your own person. And she wasn't the only one doing it, but for sure, the voice and the perspective she lends for that time and even now is something unique. Yeah, I Feel the Earth Move is a special song. That bass, it's so emblematic of that era, but it's not a bad thing. And she's a little bit loose and funky with the key, how she approaches the piano. and all that thing coupled with the lyrics and how all of it blended together. Just a little bit of a devil may care attitude about falling into this kind of love and that anything was possible, and just kind of going for it. And like you said, from a female perspective, it was a cool thing to be able to hear that up against Lazarus Heart, which is a lot of Police sounds. And this is when Sting is the main songwriter for the Police. He's going to bring some of the sounds with him, and he's got to sort through this and go, this is the old days, this is the new days. And so I think we got a song that's got a little bit of age on it in terms of this album and where the newer songs from this album go. So this isn't quite there. I do like the use of birds as an image in the lyrics, but this is, I Feel the Earth Move. And really, if it wasn't for Sting and Hugh Padgham being at the Air Studio in Montserrat, I don't know that this wouldn't be a knockdown round. Like, Sting is very gifted, and so I'll also make this a 10-9 round. But boy, I Feel the Earth Move was such a powerful, powerful song. Let's do round 2, Be Still My Beating Heart versus So Far Away. Scott, kick us off.
All right. Well, So Far Away, this sounded like a song that the Carpenters would do. I don't mean that in a good way. No offense to the Carpenters, and there's many, many fans.
Yeah.
But it's got this sort of just melancholy dreariness to it that I listened to the song in the past few days, probably 8, trying to get a feel for it each time, wiping out my previous impression, and every time I got the same impression. So I feel pretty strong about this. Sting, he's coming strong with his lyrics on Be Still My Beating Heart. And so it turns out, and I did not know this, that he lifted the title from a poet from the late 19th century, where Be Still My Beating Heart was actually created as a phrase. So once again, Sting is taking us through the history of time, which sometimes annoys me, but not this time. I do like Be Still My Beating Heart as a song, and I think it's a 10-9 winner.
Yeah, I agree with you on both cases.
Keep going, Hank. Tell us what you think of the round.
There are a lot of songs that I really dislike on Tapestry. And So Far Away is one of them. It's somnolent, trite. Be Still My Beating Heart, on the other hand, I love Kenny Kirkland's piano work on this. And the percussion section, Manu Katché and, come on, Brian. Oh, Nino Sinclair. I can't even pronounce his name. Anyone know how to pronounce his name? Nino Sinclair?
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Together, especially he's like on this Indian percussion, I think, and it's just a tremendous sound. And Andy Summers is on it, and after his work with Robert Fripp, it sounds kind of like progressive and jazzy at the same time. Was there a dance mix made of this? Anyone know?
No,
I don't know.
Yeah, could use a dance mix. We're good with a dance mix. So I give it 10-8. 10-8 because I dislike So Far Away that much.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oof, right to the
in
ribs.
retrospect, Hank, I may have gone there myself. Now that you mention it, but I'll stick with my 10.
Gotta be fearless, Scott.
Gotta be fearless.
Yeah, I know.
Gotta be fearless. All right, we're gonna remember that. And then let me do my round 2 because I want to make it a mess. I went the other direction, fellas. I have Carole winning this one 10-9. So Be Still My Beating Heart sounds like a song that you would write for a soundtrack, and I think it actually ended up in a movie somewhere. And the Andy Summers thing, I feel like this song had all of the parts to make it better than something than what it was. It felt like it was a little bit formulaic for me. I wasn't able to get away from that. Yes, it was jazzy, but I felt like I was about to watch a montage in a movie, and that just didn't make me. I know what Sting is capable of, and this I didn't think was representative of it. And given that the last song from Carole King was I Feel the Earth Move, and then she moves into So Far Away, not quite as good, and neither one of these songs I think really capture it for the artist. But I felt like James Taylor and Carole King working in tandem was better than what Sting and his guys delivered. And this song actually, this is something that's like, oh, this should really be part of something bigger. And the song has been used in other things too. So I felt like based on the overall long-term success of this song, I'd have to give this round 10-9 to Carole. But recognizing that neither one of those songs was really the stunning opener that Earth Moves from the first round was.
Sorry, I was just going to say, Pete, that nobody wants to sit around and hear three old dudes like us all day saying the same things about the same songs every time. So thank you for the dissension. Thank
Yes, I'm here to provide the dissent. Let's
We
go
need a little
round.
variety here.
Yeah, round 3. It's Too Late versus Englishman in New York. So there is a weird water droppy kind of dolphin-y B-52 sound that Sting apparently finds useful. It's kind of a boop sound, and I don't know that lends itself well to what he's doing. But look at the percussion section. How do we say Manu Katche's name? Is that how we say it? Yeah, Manu Katche is fabulous. The change in tempo, I love both the different change of tempos. I love it. But what really brings Sting into the fore is his lyrics. Confront your enemies, avoid them when you can. A gentleman will walk but never run. It's like a guide to how you become an English gentleman, especially somewhere else. You drink tea, not coffee. Manners maketh the man. All these things that are really cliche, but in this spell, I think it works really, really well for him. Up against It's Too Late, which is, part of the opening segment of this. Carole writes, one of us is changing, or maybe we just stopped trying. Isn't that every failed relationship where you're like, we had this thing, we fell in love, the girl from the first song, she falls in love, and it's like, we just didn't keep at it, or just something just changed, and
the earth stopped moving.
Yeah, the earth stopped moving under her feet, right? And so I think that I like Englishman in New York and The Gentleman's Guide more, so I'll go 10-9 Sting. How did you have it, Hank?
Well, it reminded me of something, and you just gave it to me. It's the soundtrack for Kingsman.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And this was tough. I mean, these are two big songs in every way. And, anyone who's been through a divorce knows it's too late. And it is kind of obvious, but sometimes songs have to be obvious. I mean, Sting sometimes is a little bit oblique, but this song just always, especially since the divorce is still sort of fresh, moved me. And the Sting song, the Legal Alien riff, is clever like the first dozen times you hear it, but it started to get old. Branford's interstitial sax lines, however, are brilliant, and I love the way that Sting walks the bass at the end. He figures, I can walk it. You got to remember that once upon a time, this guy named Gordon Sumner was teaching grade school and playing bass for jazz bands at night. This is a dream album. He's working with all these great jazz musicians, and he's having a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
Now, I had this tied for a long time, and I got nasty notes from Pete about that.
You don't want to be called a coward.
What gave us to me, gave me a break in it, the nitpicking, as he calls it, was my band for a while, because one of the singers wanted to do it, did It's Too Late. One of the guitarists wanted to do Englishman in New York and was voted down. So I'm going 10-9 for It's Too Late.
That's an excellent nit, and I'm glad you picked it. Thank you. Scott, let's hear your nits and start picking them.
Yeah, I got a nit to pick with some of Sting's lyrics because, and I know that he gets a rap for sort of being pompous and arrogant. The way that it starts off, I don't drink coffee, I take tea, my dear. I like my toast done on one side, and you can hear it in my accent when I talk. I'm an Englishman in New York, so forgive the horrible faux accent, but I just go... So here's my thing. I like songs that I can relate to, that I can take and create some sort of personal meaning to me. Doesn't matter if it has anything to do with the song's original intent. All right. That's just the way that it works for me. And that's why I like songs. So I look at Sting's song here, and although the playing is peerless, and Hank, you really did a nice job of pointing out that, the musicians Sting is playing with on this record are top notch.
Boy.
And if I was listening to this album without lyrics, I would probably love it. But got these lyrics. So I turn and look over to It's Too Late. Well, It's Too Late is like her hallmark song. I mean, if you look at I haven't done this, but I would bet you that if you look at how many listens this song has compared to all other Carole King songs, this song is probably number one. And there are some other amazing songs that she's done that have been performed by other artists that don't count in my secret survey. So anyway, It's Too Late is a terrific song. It's perfectly placed on this album. I think it's more than enough to overcome my problems with Sting's pretentious lyrics. And so I'm saying 10-9 for It's Too Late.
All right, well, moving right along, round 4, History Will Teach Us Nothing versus Home Again. Hank, how do you have round 4?
Oh, Lord. Home Again sounded like a warm-up exercise for So Far Away. I mean, it's essentially the same song.
Yes.
It's kind of more banal than the other one, but versus this, History could have been lame, and it could have, it's great though. It has this groove. It had that it copied from Bob Marley, by the way, and these kind of nihilistic lyrics, and it's sort of short on melody, and that's been a problem with Sting's solo work. There's in some songs there's really no discernible melody. You might as well be rapping it. But overall, it's a much stronger track, much stronger than Home Again, which I gave an 8, and Sting I gave a 10. History Will Teach Us Nothing. I also like the politics of the song.
Okay. All right. A little protest song flag right there. I like it. Scott, how about you? Round 4.
Yeah, so that was a great point you made, Hank, about the lack of a melody in History Will Teach Us Nothing. And I wanted to like the song a whole lot because I like the lyrics. I think he was right. If you read the lyrics of this song, they're written in 1987, and you think about what we're surrounded with today, and you go, dude, he knew what he was talking about. So that was, I think, enough for me in this song. And again, I just have to nod my head with what you said, Hank, about Home Again. It's just sort of limp. It's the only word I have to describe it. So, although I could have gone 10-8 on this, the lack of a melody, 10-9 for History Will Teach Us Nothing.
All right, well, round 4 for me. You guys haven't got the first fucking clue what you're talking about.
I've been told that before.
History Will Teach Us Nothing. Caribbean Things. This song has a lot of layers and sounds and interesting motifs. Because you can do all of these things, and you've got the money to pay for it, does not mean that you're making good choices. I think Sting definitely suffers thus far from the lack of having to fight it out with fists in the band room to figure out what to do. He gets to do whatever he wants, and I'm going to say right now, he's doing too much, because look at Carole's a lot more stripped down. Doesn't have all the production capability because the album happens 15 years later, and her simpler approach is creating exactly what she needs, the mood she wants. Yep, it's banal, and there's a lot of other adjectives and adverbs that I don't know what the heck they even mean, but this song is too crowded, and I know he's trying to figure out what to do because he's Sting and he's wonderful, but I felt like I just liked the vibe, and the Home Again and separation and all of those themes that she goes back to, I think 3 different times in the album. It does get a little long, but here in this part of the album, I'm not worn out on that stuff yet. I like the lyric, I won't be happy till I see you alone again, till I'm home again and feeling right. I want to be home again and feeling right. I can understand, as a guy that's traveled abroad a lot, I just want to get home. And just so I can sit in my spot and see my things and feel right. So I can definitely identify with that. It's fantastic. It's simple. I like that part. Carole King, 10-9 for me. Round 5, Beautiful versus They Dance Alone. All right, Scott, kick us off. What do you got?
Man, I got nothing for these two songs. And here's the thing. I listen to these songs repeatedly, and I can't come up with a fucking thing to say about either one. It's like if you could just delete one round of this fight,
this
is the one I delete. So I don't know if this happens for me in every album fight. Actually, I know it doesn't. But it's just weird how these two songs line up, and I couldn't figure out a good thing to say about either one. So after repeated listenings, I'm going 10-9 for Beautiful, and I'm going to step aside now and allow some more intelligent conversation to take place.
All right. We'll see if I can provide that. Yes. Yeah, this was a hard round, for sure. Beautiful has a lot of the elements, and when you're a great songwriter and you're hanging out with other great songwriters, there's going to be a lot of great ideas. And Tears for a Lullaby is a great idea. And Getting Up and Just Keep Loving and trying to, just keep going towards it. And that especially in these days, these times, with all of the hate that people put out, all the intolerance towards one another, and people literally saying my version of intolerance is better than yours. Come on. If we all focused a little more on this beautiful side that Carole's talking about, I think we all could maybe get a little better, feel better about ourselves, and put forward something that people can feel good about too. I definitely recognize that. However, look, this for me, They Dance Alone is a special song. When you talk directly to President Pinochet, hey, Mr. Pinochet, you've sown your bitter crop. It's foreign money. It supports you. One day the money's going to stop. No wages for your torturers. No budget for your guns. Can you think of your own mother dancing with her invisible son? That kicks ass on anything, any kind of love concept. He's calling out a world leader for murdering. U2 did the same thing with Mothers of the Disappeared. Both of those songs.
This episode of the Break It Down Show is brought to you by Lions Rock Productions.
That's us.
We publish, evaluate, and develop podcasts just like this one, consult others to build their own, and create associated content and content marketing strategies.
So if you're launching or expanding your social media presence, your business, or your personal brand, or if you just want to take your media presence to the next level,
reach out to us on Twitter
at Pete A. Turner
or at JohnLG69
at the Break It Down Show.
There's 1,000 ways to get a hold of us.
Now enjoy the show.
U2 did the same thing with Mothers of the Disappeared. Both of those songs are something that's above just a standard an album full of love songs. If this was something different, but it's not. Carole doesn't have a voice that can do this. So for me, this is a very powerful 10-9, almost a 10-8 for me. But just because you're taking on something that's, Mothers Dancing Alone, Mothers of the Disappeared, these are powerful topics, and I gotta go Sting with this one. 10-9. Hank?
You bring up him calling out Pinochet. It reminds me of Fela, who would call out, Pinochet was in Chile, and Sting is in England and America, and that's like a world away. Fela would call out people in his own government.
Yeah.
And do it live on stage. So this is a tough one for me. This one was very hard, and ultimately I wimped out because this is one of my favorite songs on Tapestry. It's elegiac and empowering at the same time, which is kind of a neat thing. But They Dance Alone, like you said, it's incredibly poignant, and it has people like Ruben Blades, though I wish he were singing instead of just talking the song. And it's about the disappeared during Pinochet's reign of terror in Chile. That's a very ugly time in South America. And again, Branford sax at the end just closes the deal. And I couldn't decide which, so I gave them both a 10. It's
Coward. You boy. Jesus. No, it's I can understand it. It's tough. Oh, yeah, ties happen sometimes. Well, yeah, let's move on to round 6 then. Let's go Fragile versus Way Over Yonder. And I guess this is my round to start, so let me say this. Sting takes off his shoes, gets peaceful and slow, starts to reveal the yoga Sting that we all get to know in the 90s, the tantric sex Sting. And I love it. I love it. He's finding... The earlier songs, he didn't have a whole lot of hooks in them, and it was just kind of, Englishman in New York for sure has things you can hang on to and they grab you, but this song has the same thing, and I was really happy with the lyrics, the way he uses percussion, because he's not afraid to use these things, and then the soloing on the nylon string guitar, I think just is great, and this is not the Police, this is Sting being Sting, and I'm happy to hear it. I really really enjoyed this song a lot more than I remembered enjoying it the first time around. So, Way Over Yonder, the sweet taste and good life. It's so easy to be found way over yonder. That's where I'm bound. Well, I like that. And I like the clever rhymes and everything else. And I think about the band and how they delivered Americana to us. And Carole's doing it too. And these guys are all hanging out on the same, package shows and doing things together. So they're inspiring one another. But for me, Sting goes to a slightly different place and shows an evolution that only the great of the great is able to do, to get out of your own way and find a new way to get to a higher level. And that's what we're seeing here in Fragile. For me, this is 10-9. Hank, how did you have round 6?
It was not as tough a round as all that for me. I mean, it's a stab at gospel, Way Over Yonder, and people of my tribe. It's kind of interesting. There are a lot of us who love gospel, even though we can't deal with we don't feel the source of the gospel. We feel the music, and it's been covered by jazz musicians, by reggae artists. Judy Mowat, from the Wailers band did it, and even gospel artists. It's one of the real gems on this album, as far as I'm concerned. It's I wish he'd done a Paul Simon and pulled a full choir behind her. I don't know if that was a viable thing to do back in '73 when they only had 8 tracks to work with. It's interesting how well I was playing these one after a time. I made a CD with one of these, with the first song and then the second song, and just bouncing back and forth. And it segued beautifully into Fragile. This song, I don't know, it's the lesser elements of this album. It's got no real melody. It's overly atmospheric. Good hook, though, and Sting plays that lovely Spanish guitar solo. That's a really nice piece of work. 10-9, Way Over Yonder.
Scott, how did you have round 6?
This was probably my toughest round in the album fight. I really like both songs. When I was Pete, you mentioned the band in Way Over Yonder. I thought this song could have fit on Van Morrison's Tupelo Honey album.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And I just love that. She and Van could have done a duet on this song. It would have been incredible. You got the saxophone in there, which is kind of a link between the two performers. I had a lot of that feel. And maybe because I listened to a lot of Van Morrison, a lot more than Carole King. But when I listened to this song, I thought of him. But I really like Fragile. I'm a sucker for Spanish guitar. I'll tell you right now, you could just turn on Spanish guitar in the office all day, and I probably get a lot of work done. I love it. And I think the lyrics here, they tell a story. They tell a story of an American civil engineer that was killed by the Contras. And it turned out to be a really important song for Sting. He actually opened some of his concerts with it, and including the one that he did in Paris after the bombings. And I just realized that about 2 hours ago. I was taken aback by that. It's a perfect song for that situation. It's a very important song for him, and for me it's enough for a very narrow 10-9 for Fragile.
Yeah, that's a great point, talking about how this song has aged well and it applies in multiple cases. And that, again, is the mark of if you're going to do a protest song, it's one thing to write a song about a specific time a long time ago. And it's a whole different thing if you write Redemption Song or Fragile, where you can still play the song 30 years later for your fans. That's a fantastic note. Good job with that.
Or history will tell us nothing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It all ties together.
It all ties together. Well, let's see how round 7 ties together. Hank, you've got a friend. We'll be together tonight.
Oh man, this is another round of strength versus strength. Great songs, well performed. We'll Be Together has a similar theme, but it's so upful. It's got this. It's really hard to resist. It's got this whole Earth, Wind, and Fire thing going on. You've got a friend. I mean, what needs to be said about it? Everyone knows it. Everyone's got their own feeling about it, but it's who doesn't want a friend, And again, I wimped out 10-10.
Oh God. You did. I can't believe you.
Oh, hey.
I couldn't decide which is your favorite child.
You cut the kid in half.
Or maybe you just have 3 kids, then you don't have to
Then you
worry.
get 2 kids, and it's like the Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Scott, how did you cut the baby?
Well, very carefully. So We'll Be Together, to me, does not fit on this album. And I had come to find that the record company really pushed for it to be on this album because they wanted something that was sort of a catchy single that they could put out. Because when you think about this, compared to all the other songs here, many of which, as Hank said, would put you to sleep, We'll Be Together is kind of the opposite. And, sort of like that super stiff, I would love to be Earth, Wind, and Fire for a moment, but I can't really pull it off. It's probably the most recognized tune on this album. You've Got a Friend, though, is a generational song. I mean, James Taylor took it and immediately recorded it, and it became a hit for him. She continued to record it, and it was a hit for her. Countless other artists have recorded this song, and it's one of those songs like, it almost doesn't matter what age you are.
Close your eyes and think of me.
And that means for me, You've Got a Friend is the winner in this round 10-9.
Yeah, that's spot on right there. When your songs win Grammys, when your album wins the Grammy for album of the year, you're in the Songwriter Hall of Fame, you're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You are recognized by your peers, by your industry, as being special. And when you say this song wrote itself, something outside of me wrote it, that's an incredible thing. And I love those songs. And only the very, very special people have this many songs and have one that just stands out like that. I don't know. God Entered the Room. I think I watched that Quincy Jones documentary that just came out recently on Netflix. And he's like, you have to always leave room for God in the room, 20%. So you can do it. U2 talks about it. Elvis Costello talks about it. Sometimes, the song just writes itself. And this one does, and it works. It is fantastic. I love that they're both in there doing it. You're right with the pop nature of We'll Be Together Tonight. Sting delivers a song that's a hit, and they're both in the center of the ring, and Carole just winds up and cracks Sting, and he does the same thing to her, but she just shakes her head, nope, doesn't hurt, and keeps coming. So, man, I love both of these songs. I really do. But the pop nature loses to the elevation of what You Got a Friend does. I've got this one, because I'm not a coward, 10-9. 10-9 for Carole King. Round 8. Let's go Straight to My Heart versus Where You Lead. Scott, go ahead and tell us what you got.
So this song, Where You Lead, it could have had the most kick-ass lyric in the entire album, but if only. So here's the story. Carole King wrote this song. She couldn't quite finish it, so she turned to her buddy Tony Stern, who worked with her on It's Too Late, and said, you need to help me with the bridge on this song so we can finish it off, and I'll give you a co-songwriting credit. So Tony Stern worked on this song and came back to her with lyrics that included, if you want to live in fucking New York City, honey, you know I will. Now, I may have said that a different way than it would have been sung, but unfortunately, Carole King eliminated that lyric from this song. It would have been so awesome. Well, anyway, let's talk about Straight to My Heart. The entire lyrics to this song really struck me. It's a really cool set of lyrics. I'm not going to repeat them here. Print the lyrics out. Go to your favorite internet site and read the lyrics to this song. They're really, really cool. But I have a question for you guys. What instrument is being played at the beginning of this tune? I don't know what that is. I've tried to figure it out and I couldn't. And it's part of what makes this song unique. I couldn't even friggin' figure out what the hell they're playing. It's really
DX7,
interesting.
I think.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a love song filtered with a political statement all together. It's really cool. Just struck me with all the different things going on in it. So for me, Straight to My Heart is the winner over Where You Lead, 10-9.
All right. Let me tell you how to actually do this now. Straight to My Heart is, he has that goofy magical dolphin sound again, that boop sound that I think belongs.
Brazilian drum.
Yeah, well, it belongs to the B-52s, and Sting is too comfortable with too many styles and has too many magical musicians in the room that can do things, and it seems like they need a winnowing of sounds. But and Hugh Padgham doesn't fear any level of layering. The guy's incredible, but when you have too many things going on, it doesn't always work, and I don't think it works as well here as Where You Lead. And my notes for Carole King are simple. As again, to the opposite of what Sting is doing, keep it simple, keep it about love, keep winning rounds. Carole King, 10-9. Hank?
I love this song. The Carole King song is one of the best things she ever wrote as far as I'm concerned. And, even though it repeats some of the tropes, like in You Got a Friend and stuff, this one rocks. And she doesn't rock enough. I told her that, actually, which is one of the reasons she worked with, later on in her career, with... I'm going to say Sting, but it's not Sting. It's the other S, Slash. There we go, Slash and Sting. So it's one of my favorite songs on the album. Straight to My Heart is kind of slight, I thought. I mean, the lyrics are good, but again, the melody is kind of non-existent. I love the percussion. I love the opening like you did. But what can you say for a song where the bridge is the strongest part of it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not one of his strongest songs. 10-9 Carole King.
10-9 Carole King. Let's slow down for a second before we go on to round 9 and get to the last part of this fight. What are you guys feeling now that you've been through? You've heard Carole sing about love from a bunch of different perspectives, and Sting's kind of just doing love, and he's doing I think 3 protest songs now. What are you guys feeling at this point in the album fight?
From the Sting album or from the Carole King album?
In general.
I mean, Tapestry is something that I've lived with since it came out, and every woman I knew in college had a copy of it, and I heard a lot of it. And it's there are things I like about it. There are things I don't like. I love Carole's songwriting most of the time, and she is, as you say, very direct. And sometimes that's just the best way to do things. That's when I write, I generally write that way. So, it's just a brilliant album, and it deserved all the accolades it got at the time. The Sting album, I love the musicians on it. I mean, they just take my breath away. They're playing great too, but just being there, I would have loved to have been at the studio at that, for that one.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Scott, what do you think?
So from an album fight standpoint, I think this is a back and forth masterpiece, right? These two are hitting each other back and time again. I've got it even right now through 8 rounds.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can hardly wait to find out how this thing ends up. But right now, one thing I noticed, though, is that Carole King is winning rounds with her best songs on the album. And Sting is winning songs with not necessarily his best songs on the album. So what does that say about the last 4 rounds? It says this could be very interesting as it winds up. We don't know. But that's what I think so far. I mean,
and there's a lot of back and forth between us as judges, where there's very few unanimous rounds. There's usually someone holding up the dissent, and so it'll be interesting to see how we go. Let's go ahead and move into round 9. So round 9, Rock Steady versus Will You Love Me Tomorrow. Okay, so Rocksteady still dazed from that round. King, puts Sting in the corner and beats on him a little bit. He delivers this groove-heavy song with a shit ton of words. And I don't know. I just feel like some of Sting's problem in this album is there's just too much. Someone needs to say, hey, Sting, how about 150 less words in the song? Really get to the essence of what it is. Find whatever you found in Fragile and put it into this song, because he's got the makings of a great album here, and he's a Hall of Fame act, but there's a little bit too much excess. And I get it. You were in the police, and every idea had to physically and mentally be fought for and to have it survive. And I think too many ideas are getting onto tape that probably should have been held back. Versus Will You Love Me Tomorrow. Now, typically, I would have a little bit of a penalty for a cover, but and the Shirelles definitely own this song in terms of the performance you think of, but holy shit, Carole King wrote a monster of a song here, and having James Taylor sing it with her, I am not going to penalize that because it is her song, and I love the arrangement with her and James Taylor. I just think it's fantastic. It is a very healthy 10-9 round for Carole King for me. Hank, how did you have round 9?
I agree. What a great song. Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow? I mean, the Shirelles' big hit sounds like something that might have been happening in the back seat. This is a more mature version. Yeah. And again, having James Taylor and her sing it together and the string quartet in there. It's just... It was just a great recording. It's a brilliant recording, and it moves me as much now as it did, the 1,000 times I heard it. I heard Tapestry. So while Rocksteady is a killer beat, again, it's kind of short on melody and it's kind of slight. So, I give it the grade. It's 10-9, Carole King.
All right.
Forgot all about that. I forgot what I was about here.
What am I doing?
Well, didn't we just say how great it was that we don't always agree on these songs, and here we are. We're all in agreement on this song. So I'm not going to speak for long on this round. Suffice to say that I love the groove in Rocksteady, but I just didn't find a lot in the song. It just struck me like this was probably the one song Sting wrote in 15 minutes. If you wrote any of these songs in 15 minutes, it was Rocksteady. And Will You Love Me Tomorrow, I mean, it's got such a huge pedigree from, being a Shirelles hit from 1960. The song was first put out in 1960, which, and I love the rearrangement completely. 10-9 for Will You Love Me Tomorrow.
Yeah, no, that's all perfect. And you're right. You know that Sting and the boys, they all had a great time playing Rocksteady. Like they just sat there and probably played it for an hour and a half and said, let's just play a 6-minute one this time and just be done with it.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes in an album fight, it's going to cost you. So,
yeah. And like Hank said, it would be great to be in the room with those guys, watching them do it. I bet live, watching this album performed, you'd be like, this is an incredible experience. But in this case, yeah. All right, so let's go round 10. Hank, we're going to look at, this is a hard one here for me, Smack Water Jack versus Sister Moon. Go ahead, Hank.
These are two, I mean, like we've had real beat 'em up rounds like Englishman in New York and It's Too Late and Way Over Yonder. These are two of the lesser songs on these albums. It's kind of like they're in the middle of the ring, kind of holding each other in the clinch, waiting for the ref to break them up because they're having trouble, they're losing wind here. Mm-hmm. And these are the songs of lost momentum in terms of it being an album fight. They're in the late rounds and, they're beginning to show signs of tiring out. I love the chorus of Smackwater Jack. You can't talk to a man with a shotgun in his hand. These days that has more resonance and is less funny than it was back in 1971. But it's Sister Moon is like really elegiac, and it's nice in its quiet way, and it has a nice hook. But Sting seems to be flagging in the late rounds here. It's kind of a throwaway. 10-9, Carole.
Yeah, so this, I agree with you guys. We're sort of at the part of the fight where it's getting a little groggy. Been going for a while. But there are a couple of things I want to point out on these two songs. So Sister Moon, this song reminds me of Moon Over Bourbon Street from Sting's previous solo record. But I didn't love that song. And he also borrows a lyric from Shakespeare, "My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun." And apparently that's how he got the title for this album. He borrowed it from Shakespeare. Once again, Sting, way up here. Me, way down here. Sorry, Sting.
You're going to borrow from the best.
Yeah, there you go. Well, he did, supposedly. So Smackwater Jack, this is not like any other song on the album to me because it's a storytelling song, almost along the lines of like you want back in the early 70s, you heard from guys like Jim Croce, that bad Leroy Brown, that kind of storytelling song you could, strum over a campfire. This is kind of that type of song, but with great guitar work from Danny Korchmar, which I really enjoyed. That helped put it over the top. 10-9 for Smackwater Jack. But the title alone, Smackwater Jack, I'd love to hear John Gruden say that like 10 times fast, but we don't have time for that. So, Pete.
How about if Roger Rabbit said it? Smackwater Jack! Oh, boy!
That's an alternative.
That's not bad.
It'd be really good. For round 10, Smackwater Jack and Sister Moon. Yeah, I appreciate the jazzy vibes. And again, Sting has no fear of any genre. It's too much of this, too much of the clarinet and all the different jazzy things. I just don't find a hook in Sister Moon. And like Hank said, I'm getting really sleepy at this point. Smackwater Jack, on the other hand, you remember like how Rocksteady was like, I bet those guys had fun playing that song. This is another groove song, but it's better. Like, I actually enjoyed hearing it. And then the other thing I have to say, because I know John would say it if he was judging in this fight, he would say, I love a shuffle. So this is 10-9 for Carole King. Smackwater Jack. All right.
It's too bad Smackwater Jack couldn't have gone up against Rocksteady, but
I know, right? That would have worked out.
That's the way it goes.
Smackwater Jack would have won.
Yeah.
Round 11. Little Wing versus Tapestry. Boy, all right, I'm going to see if I'm going to leave some room for you guys, but in the pantheon of short songs, and there's another short song on this album, we didn't really talk about the number of words, but Little Wing has less than 70 words, and it's an incredible song, and Sting, I think, does a fantastic job of covering it. Yes, it's a cover. It's probably less than Stevie Ray Vaughan's and Jimi Hendrix's, but if you've never heard, this is what I thought about. If you've never heard the Sting cover of this song, you're going to be so glad that you found it and you hear it. And some people right now are going, wait, Sting covered Little Wing? Yes. And he did a great job. It's fantastic. It's a touch long, but that's because these guys are in there, they're so good at playing everything. And there's so many wonderful little elements in the song. I just think that it's okay for the song to be longer. And Jimi Hendrix is so short. It's okay to play with this and show us what could have been. I really, really, really appreciated it. And only because of the strength of Little Wing do I think that it beats out Tapestry. At this point, Carole King's given us a lot of the same kind of things. And I was excited to hear what Sting was doing. And I thought a lot about, in Carole's song, I thought a lot about Dolly Parton and how she might approach this song, and I was curious to see how she would cover it or what kind of influence those two had for each other. And since you know Carole, maybe you can fill us in there, Hank. Why don't you go ahead and give us your round 11 analysis?
I found both of these songs like too trippy for school. Tapestry is just weak, title track. Little Wing is perhaps Jimi Hendrix's most covered song. I've heard a lot of people do it. Everyone from Eric Clapton and Pete Townsend at the Rainbow concert to Tuck and Patty. So, it's just, and it's such a great song, it's hard to ruin. But this is a terrific version of it. And hearing Gil Evans' orchestra playing behind it, I mean, that's a master stroke. Especially with the Hiram Bullock and Branford solos. It's just, what a terrific song. What a terrific track. 10-9, Little Wing.
Scott, how about you?
Little Wing is one of my very favorite songs. It's probably in my top 50 period. And you said it, Hank, Tapestry is a pretty weak song. There isn't anything on this song we haven't already heard on this album. Right. And I know sometimes we have to kind of look at cover songs, extra carefully to make sure that it really does deserve to win a round. Well, I think in this case, it clearly deserves to win this round. When you think about covering songs and leaving an impression as if to say, wow, that is the coolest version of this song, or one of the coolest versions I've ever heard. Now, I give top rank to Hendrix's original, but all the covers I've ever heard of Little Wing, this is the best one I've heard. And it's just different. I love the orchestra. I like the sort of atmospheric vocal. Little Wing, 10-9.
All right. Well, that completes the penultimate round. Let's go into round 12, one that Hank and I talked about ahead of time. So we'll have Hank finish off. But Scott, why don't you kick us off? Let's do round 12, The Secret Marriage versus You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman.
Sting, what is this secret marriage you're talking about? I read the lyrics like 3 times and I was all tripped out. It was too trippy for me. The secret marriage. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. If one of you guys can shed some light on it, please do. And
I got nothing.
In any event, regardless of The Secret Marriage being a good song or not, it's going up against, a titan in popular music. And when it's sung by Aretha Franklin, the first time I remember hearing this song and listening to it on a regular basis was I used to have a copy of the soundtrack for The Big Chill, and that was on it, along with a lot of other killer songs. So this is a great tune. I want to hear what comes next, but You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman to me is an easy 10-9 winner. I could have gone 10-8, but I have no balls.
Are you ready for this?
Wait, let me do mine before Hank comes in with the Hell's Bells close. Let's I have no idea what he's talking about either, quite honestly. In The Secret Marriage, I wanted there to be something. I wanted to see Sting, the great songwriter, come through, and it just doesn't, and it's just not there. I like you, I had no balls. I made this one 10-9. We know what You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman is. It's a song that if you have got those female chops, you step up, you say, I'm going to sing this song, and it's not about covering it. It's about putting your name up there, saying that I know how to sing this song. So it's Aretha. It's all of the biggest names. Mary J. Blige took a crack at the song and killed it. It's a song that you sing, and that's what Carole gave her community. This song's 50 years old almost now, and women can't stop stepping up and wanting to sing and do this song right. It's such a powerful message, and I'm an absolute pussy for not making this thing at least a 10-8 round. But I did. I made it 10-9 because I really appreciate what Sting's done and the musicianship that I have to give some.
You girly boys.
I know. Hank, why don't you show us how to do it?
Yeah.
Well, just the thought I just had actually is, it's kind of like a triptych with I Feel the Earth Move and Will You Love Me Tomorrow actually would be the first one. I Feel the Earth Move and You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman. I feel so strange saying that, though. There's a great story about this, by the way. Atlantic A&R head Jerry Wexler was driving down Broadway, being driven down Broadway. He was in a limousine. And he sees Carole King, Jerry Goffin, walking down the street, and he opens the window and he yells, "Natural Woman" for Aretha. And so it was. That's how the song came around. And it's just the terrific gospel piano work, and it's not as good as Aretha's cover, but what could be? It just what a monumental song. In Secret Marriage, it's like, to continue the boxing metaphor, Sting's on the ropes. He's just taking it, and he's got nothing to give. It feels like capitulation. That's just not there. Sting goes down 10-7. You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman.
Down goes Sting. Down goes Sting.
He's walking back to the wrong corner. Someone get that kid a towel. Yeah.
And even Branford as his cut man can't save it.
He's waving. They're waving their arms. Sting over here. Yeah. It's when you talk about closers in the album fights, we don't often get this, but this is, the fight turned in the last third of the fight where Carole just kept delivering, and Sting really seemed to be, I don't know, fellas, like this is a good 9 or 10, probably a 9-song album, if we were to build it specifically for the album fight, but that's not what Sting delivered, and so he takes a beating. Let's get Richard's post-fight real quick.
Everybody give a big round of applause to the judges for getting this one right. The patent pending number system predicted a blowout, and that's what we ended up with. 346 to 335, an 11-point difference between the albums. But as predicted, even though the numbers were clear, there were indications that some rounds could swing heavily for Sting, and they did. Nothing Like the Sun also managed to get 2 knockdowns as well, but so did Tapestry, so no net gain there. Where Tapestry proved itself was in expected rounds, scoring 10s in 9 out of the 9 possible points. Where Nothing Like the Sun only managed to score 5 of their 9. That's a huge swing. Add onto all of that, the average score of the official cards was 7 rounds for Tapestry to 4 rounds to Nothing Like the Sun, and 1 tie round in the average. That, my friends, is a blowout. I'll say it again, Tapestry is a monster, a 1%er. Let's get it in the ring with another behemoth sometime down the road. Man, I was able to get through this fight without having to point out that while he's awesome, Sting solo stuff is, well, you know how I feel about jazz-inspired rock. Put your Dockers on, boys. But I didn't have to say that today, so good. Anyway, back to you guys.
Yeah, and Richard, without even hearing what we're saying, he's seeing it right with the numbers too. What are your thoughts closing out the fight, Scott?
Well, I love when I can listen to albums and go back and remember history and the way things were. In this case, with Carole King's album, The Way Things Were for Women in 1971. It's just an absolutely landmark album. She opened the doors for so many female artists with this album. You know, she was a songwriter back in the days where songwriters were songwriters and singers were singers. And she was one of the very first to take both roles, put them out there in the public, and be recognized for it. And you think about all the female artists who exist since 1971, and a lot of them have her to thank. So it's remarkable. God, you gotta love Sting. I mean, the guy's uber talented, right? But damn it, he kills me sometimes. And I was telling you before the fight started, he just kills me with some of his Stingisms. And it's the reason why I didn't buy this album when it came out in 1987, although I own all of the Police albums. So I love Sting. But when this album came out, I didn't buy. And I didn't buy after that or since. So, I don't know. That tells me a little bit about how Sting has affected me, I suppose.
What about you, Hank? You're an industry pro. You know a lot. You know Carole King personally, and you know a lot of the people that have played in the room with Sting. So how do you, now that you've been through this whole process, what stands out for you?
Well, like I said, the 10 must thing is a weird thing for me. I'm used to giving, like 2-3 stars and having the whole album as a whole. And both of these are really good albums. The Sting album kind of snuck up on me. I mean, I've heard Tapestry. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard Tapestry. It's just, like I said, every woman I knew in college had a copy. I had a copy too, so I don't know what that says about me. Maybe I'm the girly man. But Tapestry is a landmark album. When you first gave me this thing, I said, "Oh, this is going to be a romp. It's going to be, it's just going to kill." And it looks like, I mean, it's not as big a difference as I thought it would be. So, this is an interesting experience. It's treating music like a boxing match. Yeah,
right.
But Carole King, when it comes right down to it, is she's the mixed martial arts heavyweight champion of songwriting and has been for 60 years. I mean, she's been doing it for a ridiculously long time.
Yeah, and doing it well. I mean, look at the list of songs here, and she's written on every single one. You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman. It's just an incredible body of work represented in this, especially in this one really powerful album where everything gets released. And, James Taylor is having hits at the exact same time with these songs because, that's how they did it back then. They're like, I'll release the song too. Like, yeah, great. Everybody's getting paid, and it's an incredible album fight. So if you guys aren't scoring at home, here's how the fight went down.
Everybody give a big round of applause to the judges for getting this one right. The patent pending number system predicted a blowout, and that's what we ended up with. 346 to 335, an 11-point difference between the albums. But as predicted, even though the numbers were clear, there were indications that some rounds could swing heavily for Sting, and they did. Nothing Like the Sun also managed to get 2 knockdowns as well, but so did Tapestry, so no net gain there. Where Tapestry proved itself was an expected round, scoring 10s in 9 out of the 9 possible points. Where Nothing Like the Sun only managed to score 5 of their 9. That's a huge swing. Add onto all of that, the average score of the official cards was 7 rounds for Tapestry to 4 rounds to Nothing Like the Sun, and 1 tie round in the average. That, my friends, is a blowout. I'll say it again. Tapestry is a monster, a 1%er. Let's get it in the ring with another behemoth sometime down the road. Man, I was able to get through this fight without having to point out. And while he's awesome, seeing solo stuff is, well, you know how I feel about jazz-inspired rock. Put your Dockers on, boys. But I didn't have to say that today, so good. Anyway, back to you guys.
It's a unanimous decision. Very close between the judges, though I would say we have quite a bit of disparity in what we liked. So there's a number of unanimous rounds, but the fight goes 115 to 111 for Hank, 115 to 113 for Scott. Actually, a pretty close 2-round difference.
Because I had no ball on a couple of those rounds.
Yeah, well, you know. That's how it goes, though, right? I mean, like, you got to call it how you call it. And there's a lot of allowance, I think, for Sting and the guys in the room with them. They really are great. Just because they don't nail it doesn't mean they didn't nail it. And I had the biggest difference, 116 to 111. It got for me. I got instead of getting tired of Carole King's Focus on Love, I got, like Hank said, I got tired of Sting and the boys missing and not delivering something, because I know what he can deliver. To talk back to Hank with the whole song versus song format, when you have the chance to compare and contrast Englishman in New York versus It's Too Late, or Beautiful versus They Dance Alone, songs that how do you cut the baby on those? I don't know, and that's what makes it exciting. And then also, I don't think any round, any scoring from any of us was like, that's preposterous. They all make sense. We're able to, even when we don't agree, it's like, I can see that being the case. So great job, fellas. Thank you so much for doing this.
A lot of fun. Can't wait to do it again.
Yep.
All right, I like it. The
fight is like no other fight.
That's right.
And no blood.
No blood, and everybody wins. And everybody, I mean, if you haven't heard these albums, if they're new to you, good grief, you have to listen to Tapestry. It's so good, and you're going to recognize half of the album just on the strength of having it be part of the fabric of the tapestry of America. So, all right, fellas, thank you so much.
Thank you, Pete. Hank,
thank you so much, Pete. Nice to meet you, Scott. Look forward to working with you again.